Diane Kennedy. So Diane will be.
Oh, Steve's joining us right now, actually.
Oh, he is. Oh, great. Okay.
Oh, Steve, you're on
Anyway,
mute.
like I was just saying, Steve can do all the hard work. It's no problem. Whenever he shows up, he won't care that we just gave him all the last 5 assignments. But oh, he's here. Sorry. Oh, hi,
Hey,
Steve.
who did
How
you
are
elect as chairman?
What? Well, these meetings start at 8:30.
Congratulations, Ted. That's fantastic.
No way.
Lauren, I'm sorry. I was trying to dial in on the original link on the agenda, which took me to a 4 o'clock meeting. So
Okay, well, here we are now. So thank you.
Lucky us. And forgive me, can I ask you a favor?
Sure.
Because I'm switching between systems, my office system and my home system. And I'm waiting for the email agenda to come into my home email. Can you post it?
Oh, hold on.
Post it, meaning just screen share it.
There you go.
Thank you. All righty. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, we've got a quorum. Have you heard or did you hear from Diane? You know,
She was just on the call. She was remote though, and then she just dropped off after she joined us. So she may join us again. I'm not sure.
Okay, so this is the Friday, December 9 rescheduled regular monthly meeting of the Cohasset Affordable Housing Trust. It is currently 8:41 in the morning, and first order of business is to call the meeting to order by way of roll call vote. Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson present.
Rob Henry.
Rob Henry present.
Ted Carr.
Ted Carr present.
Steve Gomer present, and so with 4 present, we do have a quorum, and we'll continue on with the meeting. First item, public comments, which are for items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody in the audience, Lauren?
No.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Cindy Amari is with us to give us an update on not only her career, but also how it will impact us. So I'm going to turn the floor over to our counsel, Cindy Marr.
Thanks, Steve. I am leaving my firm at the end of this month. I am going to be the city solicitor for Somerville, which will be a lot of fun and I'm looking forward to, but consequently it means I won't be able to represent the trust or any of my other clients, and I'm going to miss working with all of you tremendously because it's been a lot of fun. And you know, this group in particular, you've got a hard road ahead of you, given the task you've taken on in the town you live in, you know, and you've made great strides, and I wish you all the best. I'm not leaving you in the lurch. The plan at the moment is that Karis North, who I believe most of you know and have worked with, will be available to work with the trust, and of course to stay with the trust if that's what the trust decides they want to do. So in a nutshell, that's it. You know, I'll be here through the end of the month. Karis is well-versed in affordable housing. I know Lauren's worked with her before, and I believe Diane has too.
Okay. Well, it's our loss. On the other hand, we want to, you know, I personally want to congratulate you as well as thank you for guiding us these past couple of years. So far, you've, you know, we've learned a great deal and managed through your counsel to keep ourselves out of the ditch. So, you know, you've been around towns long enough to know that alone is an incredible success. So.
It's got a lot to do with the people that are on your board as well.
Yeah, the town's very fortunate to have such a well-functioning Trust Board.
Cindy,
That's such an
congratulations on,
exciting option.
Thanks.
yeah, oh, sorry. Yeah, congratulations on your parole. And
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy Somerville. That's a big town with a lot of cool things going on. So I think you'll be quite.
Is that just because Kate and William are there? Is that why you got the job?
No, I'm actually excited about it because I used to actually, when growing up, we used to call it Slummerville. And
Yeah.
it certainly has come a long way from that.
It's funny, we still do call it that.
Well, that's true. The rest of us don't.
We actually call it
And Harry Potter
Medford's
is-
poor, we call it Medford's poor cousin.
Yeah,
Congratulations. It's a,
Yeah,
it is-
really
it is a-
terrific.
That is a big role. There's no doubt
Thanks.
about it.
That's such an exciting position to move into again, and a really dynamic environment. Well done, Cindy.
thank you.
And good for you. Geez, I'm excited.
Thanks.
And I understand you have some updates for us too, right?
Right, which updates are we talking about first? You want to talk about the two favorites, Heather and Mill?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I don't know if Steve, you saw the emails going back and forth, but we did actually finally get a draft of a deed from Sharon Everett, who is the land use attorney for the town.
Yeah.
It had a lot of mistakes in it. So we sent it back saying, you know, this is really the Mill Drive, and it says Heather in one place, Mill in the other, so make it match, make it right. There was another mistake in it off the top of my head, I don't remember what it was. They might have said Mill Road instead of Mill.
No, yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be no lane.
And then we asked them just if they could send us a copy of the original deed, because we couldn't get it online. So I'm anticipating that once those errors are corrected, we will have two shiny new deeds ready for recording in our possession.
Okay. It's
So what has to happen to get it recorded? I mean, what's the next steps?
Either the town or the trust gets it recorded with the registry of deeds. Now, I would suggest that given the speed with which the town has been working on this, it might be faster if you have us do it. But that's entirely your choice.
Sounds good to me.
Yep. I don't think there's any reason to not have you do it.
Well, as soon as I get it, I'll send it along. Give everyone a chance to give it one final review, and then I'll probably turn it over to Peter McNulty in my office, who does a lot of our real estate work and does a lot of the recording. And he will make sure it gets done.
Yeah, I know Peter, good guy.
He is a good guy. How do you know Peter?
Just been around the block, this kind of stuff.
Uh-huh,
I met him somewhere along the way. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Is this something, Cindy, that could be delayed like everything else with this thing where somebody could if you don't
No.
get it, call them up and remind them to get it over to us?
We will do that. I would anticipate she will quickly fix the mistakes and send them back.
Yeah.
I just think it was a little bit sloppy, and it certainly wasn't her best work or her,
Yeah.
most prized project.
No, that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
So, but it's on the right track, and I'm anticipating that you will be in full possession, recorded and everything, but by the end of the year. So that's the goal.
Excellent.
Yep. We are not talking about Elm Street. What else is there an update on the
The other,
Can we hold on for a second? Yeah, you made the point that we're not talking about Elm Street, so what is there a reason we're not talking about Elm Street?
I thought that maybe I was,
that's coming later.
yeah, it's an executive session.
Oh, thank you. Okay,
Yes.
appreciate it.
Yes. So just the discussion of the CPC and trust
Yep.
agreement, that's the next item that we have to discuss with Cindy.
Right.
I have a copy of a grant agreement. The problem I've had with this, I talked to Lauren briefly about it, is I don't really understand why they are asking us to draft this. usually it's done by the town because they care, because it's their funds and they want an agreement. And what's strange to me about this is they've transferred some of the money and now they're transferring more money upon this agreement. But when I look at the agreement, that's the model, I don't really see how it applies. And I just wanted to double check that there is no plan. It's just you received half the money, you're getting the rest of the money upon executing a document that really has no practical purpose to do with whatever you wish with the money, as long as it's consistent with your purpose.
Yeah. Now, let's step back for a second. I can't tell you the motivation of that CPC has for pushing this particular documentation of it, but I understand their desire to do so. And that the desire to do so is, recognizes that while there was a motion and a vote in front of town meeting, the fact is that their larger concern is that some future composition of CPC might dissipate the funds without recognizing that there is a contingent call on an amount, $250,000. And I can't tell you for sure that the chairman of the CPC is that clear thinking about it, but it seems to me that his goal is to make certain that there's a marker in the CPC's books that says we gave at last, at annual town meeting 2022, the town voted to transfer $250,000 to the Affordable Housing Trust, and contingent, upon the need by Affordable Housing Trust for the additional 250, we'll transfer the rest. It's
Okay.
about as loose as you can get.
Okay, so I
Okay.
mean, so there is no there's no specific application, there was nothing. How did this just happen?
We actually made a request of CPC for additional funding in the amount of $500,000. Our goal is to build the trust balances as large as we could, knowing that we were going to end up either, making contributions to development, possibly doing fee offsets, any number of other activities to, as rapidly as possible, create or, if necessary, maintain affordable housing units. And that was going to take cash.
Okay.
At the time, we were thinking that $500,000 is not really going to make a large dent, but it would advance us from where we were at the time of about $700,000 in a trust balance to above $1 million. That would also give us some heft if we were to engage, say, a private developer. And the first question that comes out of the mouth is, "Oh, great, you got a trust. Do you have any money?" Right. So effectively, we were looking to build the bank book. The entirety of the CPC committee during their meeting was not sold on effectively blank check support for us. So they voted to transfer $250,000 and then an additional $250,000 if we came back to them and said, "Look, here's something very specific that we're doing. Could you transfer the rest?" A good example of that is we could go to them without hesitation and say, "Would you transfer $125,000 to us because we have a property that we want to buy? It's already deed restricted," right? Or transfer $175,000 because we want to buy the property, but we know we've got to make improvements in it.
Right.
Okay?
So this document is really just kind of a non-substantive document at this point, just something to put there that says, when we come back to you with a request, you will give us 250, up to 200.
Yeah, remember you made the promise and the town meeting voted on
Okay,
it. This is not our initiative, Sid.
I know, because it doesn't really make any sense.
I
but
know. But hey, you're an attorney. You still have billable hours. Why
There
are
you
you
go.
complaining?
at least for another couple weeks, right? All right, I will put something creative together and I will ship it off to Lauren and we'll take it from there.
Okay. All right. Lauren, I hate to, I'm sorry, Cindy, go ahead.
Diane has her hand up as well, but I just wanted to say,
Oh.
given all that we have accomplished since we talked to CPC last, particularly the things that we're going to discuss in executive session, what if we just go back to the next CPC meeting and say, hey, here's all we've done. We're ready to receive that 250,000 you promised.
We very well could. We very well could. I personally, I'd like to go back, not only with a list of things that were done, but things that are on the table,
Right.
one of which we'll discuss later.
I think that approach makes a lot of sense because they've voted it, it's still fresh in their mind. You've incurred costs to fulfill your mission and have things on the table. It makes more sense to me to take the money and run.
That's
No,
my
I'm
thinking too.
happy to do it. I'm just wondering if this document is, they're waiting for this before that could happen. I have no idea. Like I said, this is not our initiative. Well, anyway. It's Cindy Matheson. If we can come away from a conversation with respect to that one property purchase with something definitive, conclusive, then I think that's exactly what we can go back with.
I mean, we have, there's not, that's very tangible, but we have accomplished a lot as well. When I was putting together slides for what's in our project pipeline, I think it shows significant progress and where exactly we can put that additional 250 to good use.
Perfect. I'll tell you what, let's plan on getting on their meeting agenda, on CPC's meeting agenda in January.
I think that's a
I
really
think
good
it's
plan.
worthwhile to proceed along those lines. And I, not to cut you short, but Diana, as you pointed out, had her hand up. So Diane,
Yeah.
you're on mute. Not anymore.
Yeah. No, and I'll put my camera on just because it's appropriate to do so, even though I look weird. I was just going to say, like, my understanding, just to drill it down to some simple points, my understanding was that whatever this agreement was that CPC was looking for was something very standard between the Affordable Housing Trust and CPC. Listening to Cindy, it doesn't seem like that is necessarily the case. And because it was presented as like, this is just a standard agreement that we're supposed to have, the Affordable Housing Trust decided generally to take that project and expense in terms of drafting it on, because on the town side of things, this is about 7,632 on the priority list. So again, the chair of the CPC kind of expressed that this was something that was just standard operating procedure. It needed to happen. And I think we kind of, you know, Steve, myself, the town manager, we're like, well, then let's just let AHT, if they're willing, and draft it. So after this discussion and given Cindy's
Diane, you froze or dropped out or both.
everything else going on, you know, drafting a document that doesn't make any sense. You know, maybe we just need to get to the bottom of it. It's not going to change anything material between now and, you know, January when we might go before them. So anyway, just my thoughts.
Well, Diane, your thoughts were cut out for about 10 seconds. And I think,
Excellent.
yeah, the meat of what you're proposing was in that 10 seconds. So would you, I summarize, you think it's, if I understood it, you'd rather hold off from doing anything with the document and instead go forward to CPC per Cindy's suggestion. Is that right?
yes, because, I don't think we should spend time drafting a document that doesn't make any sense. I think we need to get a better handle on, is this standard operating procedure? If so, it should be a standard operating document that makes sense. So, yes. I think we
Okay.
should just postpone Cindy doing any further work on it.
Okay. Yeah, again, I don't know the basis of where this started. I'm not sure I want to know. But it sure sounds like it's out of the ordinary.
Okay, then it doesn't make any sense for us to jump through hoops. But let's take that up with the chair of DPC, Steve.
Yes, I just wrote a note to myself that it's time to give the chairman a call. Okay. It's gotten so bad, Lauren, I actually went on to the Agenda Center, and you know what's on for December 9? A
What?
select board meeting.
Friday night, we're all about transparency.
Yeah, you're meeting tonight. You're serious? You're meeting tonight?
Yes, we have a meeting tonight.
Oh,
You people need help.
Yep.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
And so once again, Lauren, can you, would you mind terribly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here you are. So,
Thanks. Okay. So I think we've covered this end of it. Is that correct?
yes.
All right. Tom Mead, as you can see, is not here today. Tom did send me, some extensive communication and asked it for action on one item. And this is not on the agenda. So I respectfully request that I bring it up out of order and under topics not anticipated. Is there any objection to doing that?
No.
Okay, hearing no objections. Tom came back to us and has said that he is quite ready to make recommendations for hiring a realtor. Bill Fennelly is the gentleman's name. But given that he could not attend today's meeting, I'm sorry, given that Tom Mead could not attend today's meeting, he would like the board to take action if we're ready to do so, and that action is one of two ways. One is if we were to agree with his recommendation, and I'll get into that here in just a minute. Secondly, can we authorize Tom to do the footwork necessary to get Bill Fennelly up and running, which would include walking the lot, giving permission to access the lot, to do perk tests if necessary, and so on. All right, that's the outline. His recommendation for Bill Fennelly, it comes from talking with several other brokers, but Bill had a particularly good handle on that particular parcel. Felt comfortable, and this we're talking at the moment about 25 Feather Drive. Felt comfortable that he could generate reasonable activity for it, and had a fairly good understanding of what he believed could be reasonable expectations for pricing, which, by the way, are quite a bit below what we anticipate would be, a normal cost for a standard buildable lot. His basis for understanding on that is that there would be likely extensive remediation needed for any builder to build on it, not out of the expectation for any other building a lot here in the town of Cohasset, but one that would be attractive to a fairly small subset of potential developers. So Tom was willing to make the recommendation on that basis. and asked me to carry the recommendation forward. So I am doing that. As I said, it's a topic not anticipated. I believe it probably would have made the agenda had Tom been able to attend. But nonetheless, in the interest of moving things forward, I want to ask the board about their level of interest in executing on this.
So I'm fine. I would only ask that Cindy Amara or her team review the broker agreement on our behalf. But I think that sounds fine.
Okay. Rob, do you have opinions or comments?
No, I think that, no, Tom and I talked about this, probably 2 months ago, and the fact that he's had experience with these kind of, these kind of real estate people, because obviously the spectrum of real estate people is all over the ballpark, but this particular guy has ability to, just what you were reiterating about this kind of a situation. And because a lot of Tom's business is in that, lower to moderate income type thing. So that's why he thought this guy would be a good choice. So I'm for moving it forward, as you said.
Okay, thank you. Cindy?
I
Matheson?
would agree. I would agree. I'm certainly not going to second guess Tom and his expertise in this field. So I think it's great to be able to move it forward.
Okay, Diane, do you have comment?
No, I agree with everything that's been said. I think we need to move forward.
All right, super. Well, in that case, just for formality, but also for the record, can I have a motion on moving forward with
So
sorry,
moved.
may I make a motion from the chair on behalf of Tom Mead? And that motion is that we move forward with initial hiring of Bill Fennelly, and specifically that while we extend the offer, it's contingent upon acceptable review of brokerage documents by counsel.
I second. And by the way, maybe tell us all, I now forget off the top of my head, what's the name of his company? Bill's.
Forgive me, I had it. I don't have it in front of me at the moment.
I can't remember which one, but anyway. We're hiring the individual. We're not really hiring the agency, so.
Right. Okay, motion, do we have a second? Yeah, we have a second.
Yeah, I guess second.
Okay. Okay, then again by roll call, Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson, aye.
All right, Ted Carr,
Ted Carr, aye.
Rob Henry,
Rob Henry, aye.
and Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, aye.
and Steve Gomer, aye. Motion passes unanimously. Lauren, may I ask if you wouldn't mind just dash out an email to Tom today, letting him know the results, and request that he move forward with getting the documentation over to you and then on to Cindy Amara for the brokerage agreement.
Certainly.
Thank you. Okay, next up, communication plan. Cindy and Ted, take it away. By the way, just as an FYI, I have a hard stop at 9:30. So if there's no disagreement after the communication plan, can we move into executive session? And if I need to leave that, Ted, can you take over?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. All right, communication plan.
So Ted and I talked a bit about this, I don't know, a month and a half ago. And I sent an email
Yeah.
out November 7th that had a lot of the details for the rest of the committee, in terms also referencing a couple of other towns' websites that I think provide nice examples. And since then, Lauren's been able to add to our existing website things like the mission statement, strategic plan, and community correspondence, which I think adds to our overall transparency as much as possible, so that we have at least a few things now that we can direct people to when questions come up. The other thing that I did is still in the works. It's a work in progress. I mean, I took a number of Lauren's PowerPoint slides and just adjusted them, trying to put some ideas together for what would be helpful information for people in the town who really don't understand what affordable housing is and how it works in the town. Ideally, it'd be nice to have it in lovely graphics or even in some sort of simple video form that explains what is going on. I also, with these slides and the numbers, for example, the one that you're looking at right now, I really need Lauren or Tom or Cindy to help clarify, do I have those numbers right? I don't want to put up anything that can be questioned. I get a little confused between what the HUD numbers describe and then what the town numbers describe in our housing production plan. For
I can
example,
fact check those.
I need the help on fact checking that. For example, when we wrote the letter to the Heather Drive abutters, I used numbers that came out of the housing production plan to explain how affordable housing operates in Cohasset. I think the HUD numbers are slightly different, so I don't want to have something that's inconsistent and have, you know, people more confused than we were before.
Right.
So those are the things that need to be clarified, and just giving people an idea where we stand. Obviously, we're right on the margins. This is why affordable housing is important here, not to mention the small a affordable housing. We want to be able to have teachers and firefighters. There's a slide, I think earlier, Lauren, that I was trying to compare. Yes, one more forward. Next slide, there we go. So if we get these numbers right from HUD or from the housing production plan, how does this compare with what an average police salary, a fire salary, or a teacher salary? These are estimates that I pulled from the town report. Just so that people understand, it seems like immediately their minds go to, oh, we're having problematic individuals of some sort coming in through affordable housing. And, you know, everybody deserves affordable housing. Put this in perspective of what it means to include local workers as well. So that's why those numbers are there. And then lastly is I think these slides at the end, the last 5 or 6 that show the projects in the pipeline, those came from Tom. So those go into like a little bigger PowerPoint. Yes, okay, so I've listed them here. Jerusalem Road, 390, all of these now have had additional progress, so they'll need to be updated as well. But you can see there's a full list of projects. And then if we add what we'll be discussing in our executive session onto this same list, I think it shows quite a lot of progress and opportunity for the Affordable Housing Trust. So I'd like to be able to update those. And then hopefully at some point with Justin's help, put it into an easily visualized or understandable context also on the website.
Can I make a comment here? Bravo.
Oh,
Well done. No, seriously, I recognize you look at it and say, well, you know, how can I improve it? Let me talk to Justin, let me do this. It really is, that is a wonderful summation.
great.
A couple of things that do come to mind, your point about accuracy, fact checking, et cetera. Lauren, how often are those dollar values updated? Is that an annual event?
You know, that's a good question. I would say it's either annual or biannual, depending on the program.
Okay.
But that's the type of stuff that there's so many levels of affordability and criteria, and there's differences between the federal programs, the state programs. So that's the kind of stuff that I will be more than happy to double check and fact check that. So
Well,
that it's clear.
yeah, for initial publication, absolutely. But the larger part of that, from my perspective, is this is an ongoing endeavor for the trust, and the trust itself is the entity, the ongoing being, if you will. So Cindy and Ted, think about some sort of mechanism which triggers a review of that data, so it doesn't just, after all of us are gone from this endeavor, it doesn't just go stale because someone forgot to update it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that mechanism will be. So Cindy, go ahead.
No, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt. The only, on that point, the only thing that I would suggest, and you could have even had it on there and I just don't see it, is you might want to put a little asterisk after numbers for the date that they are accurate through.
Good point.
So, you know, if it doesn't get updated, you'll have a sense of time and space for what those numbers were.
Data as of, there was one notation entered that this was as of, 2021 on a
Right.
particular slide. I did pick that up.
Yeah.
No, thank you both very much. That is fantastic. Rob, go ahead.
Yes, I agree. That's a job well done. And I was going to say the same thing that Cindy said, but also in the data, which I don't think that the federal deal is really germane to what we do here in Cohasset. Certainly the state is. I mean, I don't think I'd muddy it up by putting any kind of reference to the federal, because we're under a state mandate, not the federal.
It depends on how how does the state determine it? And that's where I defer to Lauren, who knows the details of this far
Yeah,
better.
my only point, I'm certainly not an expert on what it should be, but to me, what you try to do is to keep it as concise and understandable. And I just think we throw in federal kind of deal, it would just muddy the water.
Yeah, I agree. The simpler but accurate, the better.
Okay.
Because I think that's the thing, again, that we find out, we've all been talking about, we can actually point to something, what do you guys do? What have you done? And we've never had anything like this on a website, so that's what's so terrific about this.
The only thing I
I'm-
can, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Tim.
No. I interrupted. I'm so sorry. The only thing I was gonna say is in the federal category, I think so the only, and it doesn't really, it's in the category of home ownership doesn't apply, but Section 8 vouchers for families, I think we do have rental stock in our town where Section 8 vouchers can be used. I don't know if they are used, but I think for instance, the Avalon project has this thing called Blue Sky. It's an income oriented, rental program and things. So that would be a category of the federal funding that I could think of, but these are income-based programs. And Section 8 vouchers, like a check from the feds.
Mhm.
It's administered by the state, but it's federal money, and they can take that to a private owner, and that's how they pay their rent. Yeah, so that would be the only thing I could think of where we might have a federal issue.
Yeah, for the information purposes, we're really just trying to give town people
Threshold.
a rough idea, but I just, again, simple but accurate is what I want to try to hold on to. Can I ask one other question?
Yes, you
In
may.
terms of, quickly, in terms of minutes, we talked about having an outside party,
Yes.
draft them and put them on the website a little bit more quickly than I've been able to.
So I did reach out to Kathy Bach, who the town uses on a couple of boards, including the other one I'm on, which is a school committee. She was unable to take on new work, but she had a couple of people she had in mind, and I will follow up with her on getting some names for us to review. But she does an excellent job, and so I'll put that on my list to follow up and get some names.
Thank you. I feel like that is important to our transparency as well, having the minutes fully and readily available.
Yeah, by the way, that was an item separately that Tom brought up as an area of concern as well. And Cindy, it's just a question, just a question. I know we are capable under our charter, under our trust document of hiring our own, I think we actually call them consultants and advisors. Is this an area that we can hire and we're not going to cross the boundary with SEIU and Town Hall?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. From your perspective, I would think you can get whatever administrative help you need. In terms of if you're going to run afoul with anything in Town Hall, that to me is more of either one, a political question, or two, a question for town council to answer.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be if what we're asking for is a couple of hours a month. But
I can't either.
because it's not a job posting.
Right, and you're not. Yeah, you're kind of an odd little entity unto yourselves, but I don't think there would be a problem, but I would, just to be on the safe side, just run it by the town.
Right. I've been called a lot of things, never an odd little entity, but
So I'll suggest I can write an email today just to connect Ted with our HR director here to connect
Great.
on that, because you know, I don't know the answer to the question, and even the question of like the logistics of how you would set up a payment for a union staff person through the trust account. That's way beyond me, but I would be happy to open that door to start that conversation.
got it. Okay. Look, I think that let's move it forward just by asking the question. Ted, you've got the names of a couple of
Yep.
individuals that might be interested. Yeah, we need the assistance. And frankly, since we are dealing with any number of things that involve property, potential for transactions, transfers of money, and so on, it's just good practice to have current documentation of our decisions.
Yeah, leave this one with me
I-
and I'll get this figured out.
Okay. All right. Lauren, if you don't mind, share screen one more time.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, it's and by the way, are we okay leaving behind now? Are we finished for this meeting with the discussion of the communication plan, short of saying one more time, thank you, Ted and Cindy?
Well, I only have one thing to say, and that is, I want to thank Cindy, who has done a tremendous job on this, other than she tells me when to read it and is very kind to include me. I think it's great. We did talk, the one other thing we did talk about, we think David Pfeiffer and the work he does outside of our group could be very helpful to communication. So I did reach out to David. I will follow up, but I think as we go forward on this, I think he's got a sort of great Sydney and I talked about this. He's got a great background. So if it's okay with the chair, we'd like to see if David might help us a little bit going forward with this.
Absolutely. As a matter of
Okay.
fact, I think there's a point in which, and it should come up in a future meeting. Now that you've got the bones laid out, let's think about how we use it, especially on an outbound basis.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of letting events define us, I think there's a point now where the trust should be out defining its activities and why it's a benefit to the town and how it's benefiting the town and so on.
Yeah.
I look at commentary that shows up on social media, specifically surrounding the development on Cushing, and I think to myself, there is an incredible amount of vituperation in that, as well as a stunning lack of modest curiosity to actually find facts. And as a result, I'd much rather be leading the conversation than contributing to the muck. So, all right. Again, thank you both, and yes, absolutely, bring David into it from my perspective.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying, we welcome every member's participation in the communications effort. I think,
Right.
So please feel free, but a special thank you to Cindy for everything. here. This is really
Agreed.
wonderful.
Honestly, getting feedback is really helpful, whether it's positive or negative, just having, some ongoing conversation. I really appreciate that. Thanks to Ted.
Agreed again. I'm gonna, if the board doesn't mind, I think we can table the finance plan, at least in part because we've discussed elements of this earlier. And I think much more of it would be clarified after a meeting with CPC. Okay. Next meeting date, January 11th, under the administrative heading. And if I can further ask that, the proposed 2023 meeting schedule will be reviewed by each of you individually I think that what Lauren has put forward again is a structured schedule, on a regular and recurring basis. If there's, a specific date that any one of you can't make, well, that's great to know, but, unless, for example, the Tuesday mornings at 8:45 are just not possible once a month, then, speak up. But my point in all of this is if you take a look at that schedule, excuse me, make your comments or make your agreement on it back to Lauren. I think she can just set it into place. I am not trying to jam anything, but as I said, I've got a 9:30 hard stop. The approval of minutes are important. Can I propose to Ted that as you come out of executive session to adjourn, you take that up then?
Sure.
Because I do want to get to executive session now.
Fine.
All right. So I'd like a motion to enter into executive session under Mass General Laws Chapter 30A, subsection 21, for reason number 6, to consider purchase, exchange, or lease or value of real property. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, the chair does declare such, and as a result, wishes to take this trust into executive session. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Rob. Then by roll call vote, if there's no further discussion, we'll vote on the motion to go into executive session. Diane Kennedy.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Okay, Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, I.
Ed Carr,
Take care. Aye.
Rob Henry,
Rob Henry, aye.
and Steve Gomer, aye. We are voted unanimously. We are now in executive session.